So there's a new report that came out with some Pixel 11 CPU and GPU specifications. Now, we figured before last night, we knew they were going to run the new Tensor G6. That's Google's. Remember, they separated away from Samsung Exynos based CPUs with the G5. The G5 is their true first Google CPU. G6 will be their second generation. Well, so we knew it was going to be customized by them, and every year they've slowly improved on the CPU side. But that's not really my gripe. My gripe is the GPU. Now, before last night, we knew that it was going to be an Imagination Technologies GPU. Well, how did we kind of narrow it down to that? Well, they're not going to use the Qualcomm GPU, right? Because they left Qualcomm before they started Tensor. So Qualcomm's going to be like, no, you can't use our GPU unless you use our CPU. It's a combo thing. You can't just use the GPU, right? That makes sense. And technically, they could use a Mali GPU, which is owned by ARM, which is the ARM Cortex, which is they own the design for these CPUs. And actually, I thought if they were going to use any other GPU, it probably could have been Mali. Now, Mali GPUs are used in association with the ARM CPUs. Now, to give you an example, the MediaTek Dimensity, let's just say their flagship 9500, that's an ARM Cortex-based CPU with a Mali GPU. Samsung, with their Exynos CPUs, they use Mali GPU. So there was a little sliver of hope that they would use Mali GPUs, and I believe that's the same GPU that they used in the early days of Tensor with the Exynos-based Tensor chips. I believe they used the Mali GPU. Look, I don't have any behind-the-scenes information. I don't know how the relationship, I don't know why they did not continue working with the Mali GPU. Maybe it did not fit into their architecture. Look, again, I'm on the same side as y'all. I'm just getting the information as I get it. Sure, I have a couple of people I can kind of talk to on the back end, but they're not going to give me that information, right? Well, why didn't y'all choose Mali? Why are y'all still going with Imagination Technologies after the Pixel 10 GPU was so trash? They're not going to tell me, it could have been negotiation. Oh, they wanted too much for their GPUs, or, oh, it won't work with the architecture that Google's using now with these ARMs, Cortex. I don't know. The fact is, they're going with, look, options are slim at this point. There's really not many ways they can go. So we kind of figured rolling into the Pixel 11, they were going to work with Imagination Technologies again with the Immortals GPU. I was just hoping when we did get information in regards to this new GPU, I was hoping it would just be the latest and greatest. Their flagship GPU had to offer. They were going to give it to Google. Well, news came out last night. That's not the case. In fact, quite the opposite. The GPU that Imagination Technologies, the GPU that Pixel 11 is going to use is the Imagination Technologies CTX branded GPU. And if you're thinking, well, okay, so what's so bad about that? Well, it's 5 years old. That's the problem. Yeah. So, new leaks for the Google Pixel 11 Tensor G6. I'm going to go through the CPU and the GPU, a little rundown, and we'll get into specifics. And then we're going to get into who we need to call out that work at Team Pixel, because, again, I don't know the background story, but a 5-year-old GPU, really. So, new leaks for the Google Tensor G6 expected in the Pixel 11 suggest a potential shift to ARM's C1 Ultra and C1 Pro cores for the CPU, similar to Samsung's Exynos 2600. So, a little bit of good news and bad news that we got last night. Good news, the CPU looks rather respectable. I'm not going to say it's going to be Snapdragon 8 Elite style, right? None of us expect that, but at least the CPU are going to be using the latest and greatest cores and technology from ARM, right? So it should have decent single core scores. You know, that's respectable, right? But that's not our gripe. My gripe has never been with the CPU. It has always been with the GPU. Y'all know that. However, the GPU component will utilize the PowerVR CXT, which is similar to the one found in the Tensor G5. Again, it's 5 years old, so the one that they used in the current Pixel 10 is 5 years old, raising concerns about the lack of significant graphic performance improvements. This choice for the GPU might be driven by Google's priority to minimize the die size, right? Potentially leading to a lateral move in graphics capabilities to potentially preserve profit margins rather than a substantial performance upgrade. While the CPU upgrade sounds promising, the potential stagnation in GPU performance is a point of concern for Pixel enthusiasts seeking uncompromised advancements. Now, let's get into, here is the press release for the GPU that they've used. Now, this press release is 5 years old. I'm not joking you. Check this out. So this is the press release on their website, imaginationtech.com. Imagination launches the most advanced ray tracing GPU. When you read this, I'm going to go through the cliff notes of this, and I'm going to link everything down below after. I was in a rush to start this live. Y'all know I normally don't stream at this time, but come back when I'm done. Give me a couple minutes, and if you want to... Oh, I also have a Notebook LM link. Oh, that's what I need to bring up. Hang on. Let me run through these cliff notes. My mind's all over the place. Let me run through these cliff notes of this press release. That's 5 years old. It sounds cool. When you read it, you're like, damn. I was like, that sounds like a decent GPU. And then I was like, hold up. And I went to go look at the date, and I'm like, November 2021. You know how long 5 years in the tech world, I'm not shitting you, is like 20 years in human life world. Like, advancement is so much greater in the tech world than in regular life. So you can see why I'm a little hot today. So here's the cliff notes of this, and I'll link everything down below. Imagination Technologies unveiled the CXT, its flagship GPU, featuring the PowerVR photon ray tracing architecture, which brings desktop quality visuals to mobile and embedded applications. The photon architecture represents a significant advancement in GPU technology, enabling hardware-accelerated ray tracing for enhanced realism in games, other graphical use cases previously limited to PCs and consoles. Remember, this is 5 years old. This new architecture is positioned at level 4 of Imagination's ray tracing level systems, making it the most advanced and available, offering superior performance and efficiency for mobile devices. Here's the model number. The Imagination Technologies CXT-48-1536RT3 core includes 3 ray tracing clusters capable of delivering photorealistic ray tracing shadows, reflections, global illumination, and ambient occlusion at high frame rates with a mobile power budget. Okay. Let's see. Beyond ray tracing, the IMG CXT also boasts a 50% increase in compute texturing, geometry, blah, 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 blah. Photon architecture is scalable and can be adapted for cloud, data center, and PC markets, offering substantial blah, blah, blah. Okay, you get the point. It's just a bunch of fluff, a bunch of, a bunch of stats, whatever. Remember, this is 5 years old. So as you can see here, it was released on November 4th, 2021. Let me pull up what time is it? Let me pull up my Notebook LM, and I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to let you know who we need to call out, because after this is over, I'm going to at all the people in the Pixel department for Google, because in my opinion, this is unacceptable. Let's see here. Where is my Notebook LM? Here we go. All right, so look what Notebook LM chose to put for this? Really? A turtle. Oh, by the way, did y'all see I put a pixel in my thumbnail and they blocked the pixel in my thumbnail. I had to go upload a Pixel 10 in my thumbnail. Check this out. They put a turtle up here for Pixel 11. I didn't put it there. They did. So check this out. If y'all have never checked out Notebook LM, if you want to really take a deep dive into this, and I'll probably go live later today. I'm just in a rush. I have an appointment here in 10 minutes. Go down below. Check out the link. I'm going to post it after we go live of Notebook LM. I have podcasts, I have videos, I have information, infographics, data tables, and check out this mind map that I made of the Pixel 11 series. So here we go. Pixel 11 Tensor G6. So the CPU performance that we get with this Pixel 11, here's the architecture. ARM C1 core, ARM C1 Pro, ARM C1 Pro, 7-core layout. Not an octa-core, it's a 7-core, but a lot of the new flagship CPUs are bumping down to 7 cores. It's better on efficiency. Snappier everyday use. Again, I have no issues with the CPU. Yes, the Pixel 11 will be snappy. It'll be fluid. You won't have, anybody could use it for any regular usage. But when you want to do graphic intensive tasks, when you want to do multitasking, when you want to edit videos, even just basic videos for TikTok, for YouTube, for Instagram, if you want to use CapCut, if you want to use Instagram edits, the Pixel is so trash. It just doesn't cut it. It just does not cut it. And this is exactly what I was fearing, is that they're going to go with the same old bullshit that they've been doing for the last how many years? When is enough going to be enough? I told y'all maybe 2 weeks ago when the Pixel Glow thing leaked, I said, man, is it a gimmick? I don't know, but it looks cool. I said they have a chance, this is very rare in the smartphone world, to almost have a damn near perfect phone, right? And it seems like they're messing it all up with a repeat of this underpowered GPU. So the CPU is not a big deal, right? Now, the GPU is where it's going to be trash. Here's the hardware, legacy 2021 hardware. Don't get caught up in the ray tracing stuff. That's 5-year-old ray tracing. So here's the concerns. Subpar gaming performance. Not to mention editing. Videos. Potential side grade from the G5, meaning there is no upgrade. Lacks Vulkan 1.4 support. Did y'all hear me? Lacks Vulkan 1.4 support. What kind of bullshit is that? Do y'all remember when the Pixel 10 came out with the current one that came out with this new Tensor G5? You remember the first few weeks they wouldn't let you download these benchmark apps? Remember that? They wouldn't let you download Geekbench or 3D Mark or anything like that because the GPU wasn't ready, because they didn't have enough drivers. You remember how long it took for them to update the drivers? Months just to get up to current drivers. This current GPU does not support Vulkan 1.4. That means when you run a test on the benchmark, it's going to fail. I can't tell you how many times the Pixel 10 failed on a benchmark test. It's not going to run games good, right? And I guarantee you, you're going to run into old driver optimization issues. When is enough enough? Like, I'm so tired of this, and I get pissed off because I'm such a Pixel fan. I feel like I and you are getting screwed. This is exactly the thing that's going to turn people to Samsung and, unfortunately, to iPhone. Now, if you live in the United States, you're really screwed because come April 30th, they're going to ban all Chinese phones. So out goes OnePlus. You can't buy Oppo. I mean, you can, but you can't, right? So we're stuck. If look, I'm seriously considering not buying a Pixel this year. Sorry. So what options does that leave me with? Samsung. I'm certainly not going to be using Apple. So I'm just stuck with Samsung. What kind of bullshit is that? Now, I like Samsung, right? I'm not shitting on Samsung. I love you, Samsung. I actually do. Daily driver right here. But where are my options? Like, you blink a couple times and it seems like it's dwindling by the day. And with this bullshit Google's pulling, I'm not gonna buy a Pixel. The only way to force them to make a change is to not buy their product. And it sucks, but it looks like Samsung is it. And that's why I'm so pissed off today. Now, let's get down to the final product. Let's get down to the Pixel 11. Now, let's say Pixel 11 Pro, Pro XL. They're charging. What does the Pro XL go for? And a 256. Is it $1,100? It's $1,200, I believe. So when you get over the $1,000 price point, that's stiff competition. Stiff. You're up against the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which is a beast. You're up against the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. Say what you want, it still has some, at least performance-wise, very, very high performer. And then, if you potentially get a 512 gig, you're going up there 1400. That's where you get towards the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. Now, I know it's not available for the United States, but remember, pixels are sold worldwide. So it is going up against the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. How are you going to compare price-wise? How are you going to price match an Oppo Find X9 Ultra with a Pixel 11 Pro XL? It's laughable at this point. It's a complete joke at this point. Who's gonna pick the Pixel? Now, I know some will, but let's be honest, you're selling yourself short if you buy the Pixel 11 Pro XL over the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. The Oppo Find X9 Ultra has got better cameras. It's got a better freaking everything. Battery, CPU, GPU, UFS storage. Shit, the only thing, the Pixel that I can think of off the top of my head that could beat a Oppo Find X9 Ultra spec-wise is maybe the display. That's one thing it's got going for it. Now, it's going to have the brand new Samsung M16 OLED panel. It'll look nice, but it's not certainly, it's nice to have, but nobody's just going to take the Pixel. Oh, it's got the Samsung M16 OLED. I got to get that. Come on. So it's a joke that they're asking $1,300 for their flagship phone, and it just doesn't stack up to the competition. You know what it would be like? It would be like, how I like to compare phones to cars. It would be like going to a car show or a phone show. Phone show. You got all the flagship phones there. You got the OnePlus 15. You got the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. You got the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. You got the Apple iPhone 17 Pro Max, right? And let's say you go to a car show. You got the Mercedes-Benz, what is it? It's Mercedes-Benz, what is it? The CLS or the AMG CL65 AMG. You have the Ferrari 488. You got the C8 Corvette. You got the BMW M5. Now, going back to the phone collection, all those flagship phones that I just mentioned, and then you bring the Pixel 11 Pro XL to the group. Everybody's going to look at the Pixel 11 Pro XL and be like, really? Really? And then let's go back to the car show. With all those nice cars that I just mentioned, and you pull up, I'm not shitting on, I'm just making a comparison. I've had this car, so I'm not shitting on this car. And then you pull up in a Honda Accord, and the Ferrari, the BMW, the Mercedes, the Corvette. We're all looking at the Honda Accord like, really? And it's priced the same. You're going to pay $100,000 for a freaking Honda Accord? That's what you're doing with this Pixel. You're paying $100,000 for a freaking Honda Accord. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah, the Honda Accord drives nice. right? It's got leather interior. It's got all the, bells and whistles for the most part inside the basics, bells and whistles inside the car. Leather, you got infotainment center. You got nice aluminum alloy 17-inch wheels. It kind of looks cool on the outside. But when you compare it to a Ferrari, an M5 BMW, the brand new Corvette, the hardtop convertible, it's like, doesn't really add up. And then you want to look at the specs. You got a little inline six in the Honda. I don't know what they have now, V6. And in these cars, these flagship cars, you got turbocharged V8s, you got V10s, you got just amazing engineering power, right, at your hands. Well, it's the same thing with these phones. It's like, you see what I'm saying? Kind of the same thing, except the Honda Accord is $100,000. Who's going to buy a $100,000 Honda Accord? Nobody. Sorry. And again, I'm not shitting on Honda Accord. Again, I've owned a Honda Accord, so I'm just making this a comparison. Same thing you're getting with this Pixel. You're paying $100,000 for a Honda Accord. You're paying $1,200 for a subpar product when compared to the competition. That's the key. When compared to the competition. Again, it honestly doesn't make sense the more that I think about it. And I think this is the very first year I'm not going to buy a Pixel. Pains me to say so. Damn it. Testing. What the hell is going on? Now, I got my volume. I'll have to check on it. Let me see here. I don't know what's going on with the audio. Nothing stacks up against Oppo and Vivo. And you know what? Taking it back to cars, just like the Xiaomi SU7 Ultra, the Xiaomi electric vehicle. Just Google it. Google it. If you're not driving, if you're watching me at home, at the office, on your lunch break, you can Google while you watch my YouTube channel. Swipe to home on your Google search bar. Type in Xiaomi SU7 Ultra. Just like the Vivo and the Oppo phone, the Chinese-made phones that blow away everything we have here, go check out that EV that Xiaomi makes. It's so cool. But it's so badass. It blows away anything we have here. Teslas, and guess what? They make them for half. They sell them for half the price, essentially. Half the price. It broke the record at Nuremberg. In Germany, the famous racetrack, it broke the record. Like, it's insane. I was looking it up, and it seems to be a promising GPU. I think it's better for AI, but it also has features like super resolution upscaling as far as the CXTP. I'm hoping it's actually the DXTP series. Yeah, right now the Pixel 10 has D series, and I believe they're going to be going to the C. Now, I'm not cutting, well, maybe I am cutting them slack, but here's what we don't know. Getting back to why they chose this specific GPU. And again, I really don't have an issue with the CPU. It's the GPU. Now, I've got real world experience, and I think I've made videos about this. The last Pixel, I got the 10 Pro, but I don't use it. The last Pixel that I really loved was the 9 Pro XL. That was the last one that I really enjoyed using, and I actually used for damn near 10 months straight as my daily driver. But when I always used to shoot video, when I always used to shoot content, when I always used to edit videos, make thumbnails, whatever it is, I always used to shoot on the Pixel content and then transfer it to my Samsung, because it, for one thing, would take forever to render that video. But then while making the video, while chopping it up, editing it up, cutting out a minute here, 30 seconds here, the audio and the video would not sync together. And it was a continuous choppy experience. Right now, I don't play games, but it was a horrible experience editing videos and then rendering that video once done. Those sort of things fall on the GPU. CPU is fine. It was a very snappy phone, pretty quick, very fluid, just as fluid as any other flagship phone, which kind of falls on the CPU, but that wasn't my issue. Now, I know these are very specific tasks, but again, what I do on my phone and what you do on your phone could be similar, but chances are it's very opposite. But I think the average person, I think, probably won't have a problem with it, but it's the power users, it's the enthusiasts, and it's also just the fact knowing that performance wise, maybe it's just me, you have a subpar product. Again, why would you buy? Maybe you're in love with Pixel, I get it, I'm a sucker for Pixels, like I said, but at some point, what do you want us to do? Is this just going to be a jitterbug phone now where you can't really game on it? You definitely can't edit videos, render videos. So you just want it for, it's just a quote unquote basic smartphone, right? You just want it to do all this AI stuff, which on the other hand, who uses all that AI stuff? Honestly, I'm asking you a question. Do you know anybody that uses more than 2 AI features a day? I don't. I use one. I really don't even use AI. I mean, it's cool, I guess, but who fits that in their daily workflow? So I think this whole AI thing is overhyped. And sure, the CPU helps out on some of this AI stuff, but getting back to the GPU and which model they're choosing, the only thing, so I was trying to not just criticize them for choosing this, but I'm taking it a step back or reversing the thought process is, so why did they choose this, right? Why? There had to be a reason. Why did they go with this over that? Now, I think we kind of at the beginning narrowed out or filtered out the other GPU manufacturers. Qualcomm's going to give them the cold shoulder because Google stiffed them in their contract with the CPU. So they can't use, and plus Qualcomm would want you to use their CPU if they're going to use their GPU. You see what I'm saying? And there's really not that many choices. Mali, again, they are using the Mali ARM brand, I think owns the Mali series GPU. So I guess they could have chosen Mali in the Dimensity MediaTek 9500. They use the Mali GPU. Really don't know why they didn't go with the Mali. You know, like the T, Mali T, whatever their model numbers are. Why didn't they choose that? Now, did it come down to price? Which ultimately 99% of decisions that are made comes down to money, especially not every decision, obviously personal choice or who you choose to marry. Well, I think that sometimes that does, but I'm talking about in business. Essentially every decision made is about money in some way, shape, or form. So saying money did not have a play in the decision to go with this GPU, it's probably foolish to think it didn't have anything to do with it. But let's take out the others that they could have chosen, and let's just focus on the Immortals GPU. Why did they choose to go with a 5-year-old GPU over the latest and greatest? Was it because with their older GPUs, Google can tweak it more, can put more customization? Maybe there's more tools in the shed, so to speak, when it comes to tweaking that GPU, where they can put their footprint on it, or no, we want it to be tweaked to do more AI heavy intensive tasks instead of just raw gaming, raw power. That could have had something to do with it. There's a lot of unknowns here, and that I think get overlooked by, and I'll be the first one to admit, by me and other people, because we don't know. We're not in these meetings. We're not sitting there in the boardroom deciding or sitting there with what's his name, Linus Upson, the vice president of engineering. He's going to have a say so. We're not in meetings with him, right? We don't know why they chose this over that. All I know is the final product, right? All that is just hogwash when it comes down to the final product that they put out. So I hope they knew what they're doing. I hope they know what they're doing, which I'm not going to write them off right now. Maybe saying I'm just not going to buy it. Maybe that's pushing it a little too far. Maybe I'm a little too in my emotions right now, which we have every right to be. As a Pixel lover and user and part of hashtag Team Pixel, I've been waiting for so long to have a product that I can be confident with and, can actually stack up to the competition. And it feels like we're just continuing the same path of suboptimal performance, right? It's just disappointing. Like, and again, maybe we shouldn't judge them too fast, but where this is headed is the same old, same old. I feel that way. I truly do. So with some of these people here, what I'm going to do is actually at them when this is over. I'm going to make this video look nice and clean. And then I'm going to upload it to YouTube. And then I'm going to reach out to each and every one of these people and send them a link and let them know we are not happy. And what I would love to do, because I know they've invited me to the Pixel 8 that was in San Francisco, but it was on my birthday. Anyways, in the Pixel, they didn't invite me to the Pixel 10. I don't know why. Pixel 9, they invited me, but it was within like I think it was airfare was too expensive. Like the invites were sent out like 2 weeks before the event. And I looked at the airfare. I'm like, holy crap. Maybe I should take the dive, but whatever. But what I want to do is not only am I going to reach out to them behind the scenes, each and every one of these people. Well, I'm not going to reach out to the vice president of Chrome browser. They're just going to send me to the delete folder. But I'm going to reach out to the people that have direct influence, that work inside Team Pixel, that work on the product. I'm going to send them a link of this or whatever video I choose to upload. But I'm also going to ask them, hey, can you please come on my channel? Now, you don't have to do it before the launch. I don't expect them to talk about this before the launch. But extend an olive branch or whatever you want to call it and say, hey, I've done that. I did that with OnePlus. Offered them to come on the channel. Let's have a discussion. I'm not going to blast them. It'll be a very cordial interview. I just want to ask them what went into the decision making. I honestly want to know, to tell you the truth. Like, I'm honestly curious of why they chose this. Now, again, it kind of seems, if you want my honest opinion, it kind of seems like options are limited. But getting back to the GPU, I just don't know why they chose a 5-year-old GPU and not the newest, latest. I don't know. Apparently, the Pixel 11 was supposed to get the Imagination Tech EXT GPU, but it wasn't ready. So I'm guessing, well, that's in the Pixel 12 series. Yeah, I saw comments on the bottom of a Android Central article, and I've noticed, or I read that same thing, that apparently they were wanting one model, couldn't get it for whatever reason, so they fell back on this model, and they're essentially going, now it's an upgraded 5-year-old GPU. But still, when you hear that, you're like, really? And here's the thing. That's just the headline. Here's the problem. When you get into the weeds of things, like what I want to know and apparently what some of y'all want to know, is we want to know why. Why did they choose to do this? Like, I don't understand it. But, I'm kind of nerdy and, like, this stuff interests me. But you got to think you're the average person. They don't care, right? But they are going to see the headline. The headline today, Google Pixel 11, same, GPU trash or whatever. You've seen the headlines. The average user is going to see that headline. Maybe they might see the sub headline and think, what? Oh, hell no. Well, looks like I'm going to have to go back to iPhone, or looks like I'm going to have to go to Samsung. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people aren't going to dig through the details, the fine print. They're just going to see the headline and they're just immediately going to write off the Pixel 11 series. That's my biggest fear with this product. And I think Google, that's what I think they don't fully understand. I know a lot of people goes right over their heads, but you can't tell me a percentage of those people that are interested in tech. They might not be like enthusiasts like we are that dig into the details and, oh, what about this? What about that? But they do read the headlines, right? It's in the top headlines of the tech news today. So people are going to see this and be like, I'm skipping. You can't tell me that's not going to affect sales. How much? I don't know, but a little bit, probably. Well, I'm still going to buy a Pixel since I don't edit videos and play games. You still got... That's true. Now, here's the problem with Motorola. The signature is not available in the US. Now, I say available. I mean, you can't go to Motorola's website and purchase the device. You can go to eBay and get it. You can go to an online retailer and get it. But here's the problem. What if you break the screen? What if you need warranty work done? It's a pain in the ass to go through to go through that. It's not the same as buying it from the Samsung's website on a Samsung US website, or getting it from T-Mobile or AT&T, where they offer insurance. I can get, if I bust my Samsung screen right now, I can have it fixed by, depending on what time, by the end of the day. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. Yes, you do have Motorola, but you're limited to US sales. You're limited to just budget and mid-range phones. You don't really, the really cool devices are not available in the US. So on your first point, yeah, I get it. And I don't want to come across as it's just going to be trash, because everybody uses their phone differently. If you don't play games, if you don't edit videos, I think you'll love the device. So if I'm coming across as just writing this Pixel off, take it with a grain of salt, because again, like Carlos, if you don't game, you don't edit, it should be a great phone. Now, if you want to get past the editing and the gameplay, they are going to implement the 200 charging cycle limit. Here's my other big issue with Google. After 200 charging cycles, they just limit your charging. It takes 2 hours to charge your phone, and you can only charge it to 80% capacity. So it essentially renders it a full use phone for 6 months. And after 200 charges, that's it. So that's the other issue I have with them. I think it's still too early. I know I just said I'm probably not going to buy the phone. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think it's just a little emotional today. It's the same bullshit. Different day. I really wanted Google to get over this hump. And it just, for me personally, it'll be a great phone if you don't game or edit, or you don't care about charging and charge it every night when you lay your head down. Hey, I'm sure it'll be a good phone. And in fact, if my family asked, hey, I need a new phone, what should I get? I'm still going to tell them get a Pixel. I'm just frustrated because it limits my usage of the Pixel. See what I'm saying? It limits what I enjoy doing on the Pixel. That's why I'm frustrated, because essentially today or last night, and I wake up, see the news last night, I wake up today and realize, well, I guess I'm not getting the Pixel this year. And I'm kind of burned. I'm kind of scorned. I'm like a scorned lover here. I'm just like, God. I don't know. But I get it. Yeah, you'll probably like the phone. A lot of people will. But I won't. I don't think. Man, it's sad. I think more people need to realize just how bad it is for tech lovers, especially phone lovers in the United States. It is dreadfully bad. I mean, let's think about it. I know I just briefly mentioned it, but You got Samsung, you got Apple, you got Google, you got Motorola. Now, am I missing any others? Apple, Google, Samsung, Motorola. Now, with 3 out of those 4, you can buy flagships. Motorola, you cannot buy their flagship. They don't sell flagships in the U.S. I think they're gonna bring their fold style signature to the U.S., but that's still in September, right? I'm talking about like after the 30th, after tomorrow's when the FCC does their votes on their Chinese ban, and I fully expect them to pass that. So let's say tomorrow or next week, if you want a nice phone, you only got 3 options. And for me, iPhone sorry, I don't mean to give you the middle finger. iPhone is not an option. So that leaves me with 2 options. And if Google, I don't think I'm going to be getting a Pixel this year. What am I going to use it for? That just leaves me with Samsung. Like, that is dreadful. Now, obviously, there's nothing. And Jesus, if they didn't make the Phone 3 look so bad, I'd probably grab one of those. Man, it's bad. Like, this is like the worst it's ever been. We just don't have any options. The Adreno 840 GPU is on another level. Yeah, it is. Google doesn't have the most powerful GPU. They need a flagship GPU. That's it. I don't care if it's Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 level or Gen 2. Dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. You want to see how bad it is? I have a graphic for you. It's so bad. The benchmarking scores, the performance, the Pixel 8 outperforms the Pixel 10. A 2-year-old phone. Imagine if Samsung came out with this S26 Ultra, and once users got it in their hands, it turned out the S24 Ultra was far more powerful. How do you think that would go? Yeah. So let me pull up. Hang on 1 second. I got it here. I want to show you something. Let me just transfer it to the computer. I want to show you something. Damn, I gotta update my shit. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Son of a bitch. That is the Pixel 11 Pro XL. That's the Google Kodiak. That's the internal name. That's ridiculous. That's embarrassing. Now, those are early. And it was just testing, right? They're probably just threw the phone together. Well, they didn't just throw it together. It's probably an early prototype. And they're probably, their first time. They're just seeing if everything works. But we still got the score. 845 single core, 2657 multi-core score. That's on the level of like an S20 FE. That's like 6 or 7 year old performance, CPU phone performance. Now you can see it was done at February 25th, 2026, which was just a couple of months ago. Android 16, Kodiak, that's the code name, internal name for the Pixel 11 Pro XL. You can see here, ARM, it's got the ARM CPU, one processor, 7 cores, so that would match up with the processor that we got word of yesterday. Identifier, right there. Base frequency, it is fairly low. I think the last one, that their performance core, the P1 core, I think was clocked at, can go just over 4 gigahertz. So, I mean, it wasn't ramped up, you know, and that's not really going to well, it's definitely not going to reflect the final score, the production units, but it's pretty low score. Here you got, oh yeah, here we go. Their performance core is rated at 4.11 gigahertz. And then you got the other ones here. Interesting thing is, look at the RAM. Now, originally I saw the RAM and I was like, no, that can't be the Pro XL, because the Pro XL comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM. And then I looked up the Google Kodiak internal code name and I was like, no, that's what they're calling the 11 Pro XLs, Kodiak. So I'm like, why the hell does it have 12 gigs? It says 11.2 gigs of RAM, which is technically a 12 gigabyte model. Whenever you benchmark them, the usable RAM is just a shade under what it's rated at, and this is no different. But the Pro and Pro XL always have 16 gigs of RAM. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they just threw it together a early test unit, and they're like, well, all we got's the 12 gig of RAM. Well, screw it, throw it in and test it. I don't know. Again, all we see is the final product. I don't know what the story is behind it, but that's the Pro XL Kodiak. It seems like every year Pixel benchmarks always start off looking bad. The CPU will be much better than this GPU that worries. The CPU is using newer, more powerful cores. GPU is old. To be fair, Pixel 10 series does better in actual games than 9 series, but 9 series does better in benchmarks. Or I'm thinking of the 8 series, but either way, they gotta care more about GPUs a bit. And look, I'm not asking them to be on Snapdragon level. I'm not asking them to be on the MediaTek Dimensity level, right? I'm not asking them to be on the Bionic A19 level. I would like to see a respectable score, right? I would like to see something that's within 20% shy of the full strength of a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, right? Like, I think that would be respectable. Something that's obviously, you know, up there, but I'm not expecting them to meet Qualcomm or MediaTek at their performance, but it's so far down. It's way below what the industry average is, that even on paper it looks embarrassing. And again, I think it's affecting sales to some extent, but I guess you can, but stats would say otherwise, because their market share is still growing. I just fear that this headline, if they continually, year after year, put out subpar performance, I have a fear that it will eventually catch up to them in sales. That's what I'm worried about. Right? Just continual year after year after year of just really bad. Because look, you know, and I know benchmarks don't mean everything. right? We've all used a Pixel. It's pretty smooth. It's pretty nice. It's pretty fast. But we know that there's more to just benchmarks, right? There's more to a phone than just the testing. But the average person who is aware of benchmarks sees this, they see the headlines, and I think my fear is that they're just going to write off the Pixel. It's because I've read the comments, and I know some of y'all have too. I've read these comments last night and this morning. It's not pretty. They're getting roasted online in these comments on Reddit, underneath these articles. They're getting blasted. And I think it might catch up to them. I think it will. Now, this year, maybe not so much, but what if they do this again next year? What if they do this year after that? Like, Jimmy Fallon. Oh, yeah. I remember that. It was very, very cringeworthy. That launch, and all they talked about was AI. Did you notice that? They really didn't go too much into the battery tech, or they really didn't go into the processing, or dare I say the GPU, or performance. And they did a little bit on the cameras, right, which you expect them to do, but it was real goofy and kind of. It looked like a skit from one of his shows, and maybe that was the theme they were going for, but yeah, I don't know. It was kind of cringeworthy. Yeah, you would. That's what I'm guessing. So he's saying you would think from the controversy of the Pixel 10 series GPU would make them take gaming more seriously. I guess the Pixel 12 would be the Pixel for gaming based upon the EXT GPU specs. Yeah, and look, time will tell. And I think that was you that was writing in regards to the GPU specs. Yeah, only they know why they chose that specific model of Immortal's GPU. Again, I think, my personal opinion, it has to do obviously with money, or it comes down to maybe the 5-year-old GPU, the CXT. Maybe that one was more customizable for what they want to do with it. You see what I'm saying? Maybe the newest Immortal GPU was a little bit more restrictive and they can't tweak it to their liking. I don't know, but you would think it would have to be something like that, right? I mean, I can't imagine they got blasted for the Pixel 10 performance. It's mind-boggling to me that they would want another repeat of that.